Good evening. Today is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. It's 5:30 PM. This is the Auburn Finance Committee. I'm going to read our remote participation script. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, it's 1-786-535-3211. Utilize an access code of 991-599-357. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com. Join, and it's the same access code, 991-599-357. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. We believe we have all members. We don't have anybody appearing remotely this evening relative to the board. Members, when I call your name, can you just please respond in the affirmative? Ed Coleman?
Here.
Michael Marshall?
Here.
Patrick Jones?
Here.
That is all for the meeting this evening. Town officials and employees participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Manager Ed Kazanovich.
Here.
CFO Town Accountant Karen Harnois.
Here.
And Administrative Assistant Sharon Kwiatkowski.
Here.
Okay, for a agenda this evening, I'll just read through quickly, but we have we're going to call to order, which is just done. Our second item is going to be an executive session, which we'll discuss momentarily. We'll reconvene. We have some transfers, overview of a few budgets, and some transfers. Do we have a motion relative to the executive session?
I move that the Finance Committee go into executive session in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to deliberate upon matters which, if done in an open meeting, could detrimentally affect the position of the town.
Do we have the, I'm sorry, there's a little more on that one. Do you have more on it?
Regarding the strategy with respect to litigation, and to come out of executive session and reconvene the open meeting when we're done.
Thank you. Motion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have to do a roll call.
We'll do a roll call now. It's okay. We'll do a roll call. Michael Marshall?
Yes?
Ed Coleman? Yes. Patrick?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes as well. I'm just going to read this one other component on this. It says, I declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body relative to strategy with respect to litigation, and that the committee will come out of executive session and reconvene in an open meeting. Okay, so we'll upstairs. Committee meeting for this evening. Again, just to remind everybody, this meeting's being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. The next item on our agenda is to review, vote on departmental transfer requests. Okay, which one do you have first? Do you have the fate?
Travel. Those are the ones that Karen did. We can do those.
Okay, those, thank you. Those are Karen's, thank you. Okay, this one's from the assessor's office, coming from the travel account. Amount requested $600, going to miscellaneous supplies, reason given to cover work attire, footwear for two, this is data collectors. Any questions? Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, next one from DDIS Code Enforcement Division, coming from the education line, amount requested $1,500, going to the office equipment line, reason given, cover iPad needed for the building department.
This might be annoying. Is it a replacement, repair?
Hi, good evening. Yes, the iPad that we have currently is no longer functioning, so this one will replace that. So it's $1,500 for the iPad, and then the safety case that goes around it.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one's from the police department. I see Deputy Chief Mills is here. Sir, do you want to come up and we'll cover yours? It's from the dispatcher account, amount requested $19,000, going to the building and ground repair account, reason given, emergency boiler repair.
Yes, good evening. We learned earlier in February that our boiler, two sections of it are leaking, and as you know, you've heard us up here before, the HVAC system is past end of life anyways, and the reason we're transferring $19,000, I actually just earlier, before I got here, got one of the last quotes, which came in at about $15,500, so we're gonna be a little under that, but in saying that, I also just got an invoice from Renaud for another $1,200, so kind of breaking even, I guess. But it's basically just to continue to provide heat to the building. That's why we need it done.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you say you got multiple quotes on,
Yeah, at the direction of the CFO, they're all in the state contract, but that specific state contract reads that you still have to get 3 quotes, and because of the amount of the repair, we went and got the 3 quotes, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with 2 of them, so.
any questions? Sir?
I just want to make sure we feel confident that the dispatcher's line is not going to require additional money before the end of the year.
Excellent, yeah, the dispatcher line was funded at 11 positions. We're at 6 right now, and we have not been above 8, I don't think, all year. And one of the dispatchers just left for a year-long deployment, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Through the chair, a motion to take the next 3 as one vote.
Second.
A motion and a second, take the next 3 coming from that same account as one, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll read these off. This is the fire department. These are all coming from the administrative assistant account. First one is the amount of $4,000 going to maintenance account, building maintenance account, reason given, expected invoices for repairs. The next one for $2,000 going to the medical supplies account, reason given, anticipated shortfalls in account. And the last one, $4,155.18 going to the overtime account, reason given, anticipated shortfall in account. Any questions for the fire chief?
Just,
Go ahead. It's in your mind.
no, the anticipated shortfall, I'm guessing this won't be the last.
We're spitting into the wind with this one, this last one. Yeah, I mean, as you'll probably see me, we're still working on the overtime plan. I was supposed to have the 4 new positions that were going to come on January 1. We were planning on April 8th. I think I'm going to defer all 4 of those to July 1 to capture that money to put towards overtime. So we're continually on a weekly basis trying to chip away at what our overtime, shortfall will be. So probably every week or two between, now and as we kind of move towards the end of the fiscal year, we'll be moving, some money towards the overtime account. So same thing we've been doing the last month or month and a half.
Same question about administrative assistant account. We're good? We don't
Yeah,
need
so-
any of this money?
No, so that position originally, when it was budgeted, this position has, she's only been working less than a year, and the position was budgeted at a higher step than she was actually brought in on, so that's the difference of that salary. And then the building maintenance account, we're transferring $4,000 in, but we do have some anticipated invoices. We lost the water heater at Station 2. We had a garage door issue at Station 2. And it was been a rough month for Station 2, and we lost the washing machine at Station 2. So even though we're putting $4,000 into the account, we have somewhere around $3,100 worth of pending invoices. So there'll be about 900 or so remaining in that account.
Why don't we tearing down checks?
So we actually have a meeting with our attorney tomorrow on the closing. I'll be turning over the RFP that I drafted for the demolition to him tomorrow for review. By the time we go out to bid, I'm hoping sometime in July. I'm hoping realistically by the time we, go out to bid, select a company, get on the schedule, we really do not want to go into the fall with it standing. So we're really kind of shooting for July as a target to have it down.
Motion and second, all in favor? Okay, this is a request from the DPW Sewer Division, coming from the wages account. Forgive me, is that $2,500? Yes. $2,500 going to uniforms, personal protection equipment. Reason given, clothing allowances for new employees.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one also coming from a wages account, amount of $1,000, going to dues/licenses. Reason given, anticipated licenses and dues through end of fiscal year 2024.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor? This also from the sewer division. Oh, we would have had 3. We could have done 3, Patrick. Also from the wages account, going to $2,000, going to the building maintenance account. Reason given for flooring and miscellaneous building repairs.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and this one from the fleet maintenance section. From the fleet maintenance account, amount requested, I'm sorry, it's a reserve account transfer from the reserve account. Going to fleet maintenance, the amount requested $25,000, present balance in that account $18,886.39. Reason for the shortage in the account, multiple unexpected repair bills for fleet vehicles. Want to come give us an update on the state of the fleet?
State of the fleet, yes. Thank you. Nick Schwartz, DPW. So I was here in front of this committee, I believe about a month ago. Since that time, all it took was 2 vehicle repairs to eat into about $20,000 worth of that $25,000 that we requested last time. So the hope is that we don't have any larger repairs going forward, but the approach that we've been in talks with town management, CFO, to just determine what the best course of action is. Do we ask for, do we get a lot of money up front? Do we kind of go incrementally? The intent is to do an incremental approach. So we're asking for $25,000 this time, with the hope that that'll get us another month or 2, depending on severity of winter storms, any other unforeseen repairs, that kind of thing. it's difficult to project out to the end of the year. Looking at how much we spent over the same period last year, I would expect we would need about $90,000 in total. But again, it depends on what actually breaks down.
Can you update this line item for the 2025 budget?
Yes, we did increase this pretty substantially for 2025. In talking with all the different departments, what the needs are expected to be next year, trying to be realistic and looking at this year as somewhat of an anomaly, but still it appears to also be a trend. So, I don't think the trend is steep upward as it appears to be over the last 2-3 years, but we certainly need to plan for this going forward, considering the size of our fleet, age of our fleet, complexity of the vehicles. It all seems to play a factor.
Yeah, that was gonna be the basis of my question. Are we talking, are these older vehicles that are requiring more maintenance? Are these unforeseen things on newer vehicles? Like, what's?
It's not necessarily older vehicles exclusively that are breaking down. Certainly, it appears to be related to the general average age of the fleet. The more older vehicles we have, the more repairs we're going to need. But it's not exclusively older vehicles that are having these issues. I think we had spent over the past year about $20,000 on one of our middle-aged salt vehicles, and it was just 2 separate repairs. So we're looking at that. We've looked at our vehicle inventory long-term. I think I projected it out over 40 years. What we have now, what we'll replace with that, and just trying to figure out, are we keeping on track with our capital improvement plan and retiring vehicles as we get new ones in. But that's its own challenge because of longer lead times and that sort of thing.
Are these largely snow-related repairs or vehicles, or?
It's a mix of things. I know the fire department has had some vehicle repair issues as well. The snow vehicle repairs are definitely the most expensive. We've had some sweeper repairs that were very expensive. So we're looking at all that. But snow vehicles is certainly the biggest thing, especially this time of year.
For myself, just when we do the 2025 budget presentation, I would be very interested to know, like, in addition to the budget year over year, how many repairs we're doing year over year. Just, I suspect that a lot of the drivers of this cost is increased cost of repairs and not increased repairs, but being able to show that to people so that we are able to explain what's triggering the dramatic increase in this budget would probably be helpful, so.
Yeah, no, we are looking at that. Sometimes it's difficult to quantify number of repairs because some repairs are so small, they're essentially not even tracked. So we're looking at how best to sort of quantify that data, at least in a way that we can present it, so that we can sort of understand, what's going on, what are the causes, and maybe better figure out how to mitigate against it if possible.
Any additional questions?
No, just an observation that you might want to take a benchmark and use anything that's related to service, that goes erroneous or something we don't need to know. But if something blatantly happens, like brakes or stuff like that, or if you send a $3,500 threshold on a repair, I think that would help us out a lot. We don't have to know about things that are de minimis, but if something should break and it becomes expensive, that's helpful for us to know.
Motion approved? Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So we're about to get into our first budgets for the year. First one being, we're going.
Budget prep season, one of the most difficult that I have been involved with for a variety of reasons. One, I think we see a large reduction in state aid year over year. We're only getting $166,000 from the Commonwealth, $70,000 of which is Chapter 70. The other 70 is unrestricted governmental aid. which really is forcing us to balance the budget on local revenues, that being taxation, that being local receipts. We have taxed to the limit of 2.5, no more than 2.5, despite the fact that we have excess levy. We're not dipping into the excess levy. We've increased our local receipts by roughly 800,000, so we squeezed as much juice as we could out of what is available. It's leaving us less flexibility for the future. And our fixed costs continue to increase, whether it be fleet, whether it be employee benefits, whether it be school department fixed costs, as well as any considerations for the teacher's contract that they're currently negotiating. It's making it difficult to disperse any available funds that we currently have. I want to just identify our Bay Path assessment is up 225,000. Their enrollment is up plus 14. That's really driving that number. In addition, they're not seeing any additional state aid as well. So those are some of the factors that have come into play in terms of making our recommendation. We have eliminated a generalist position as a way to balance the budget. That position is currently vacant. That position, quite honestly, was a priority of town administration when we reorganized that portion of general government. When I brought a new assistant town manager on, she came on with the designation of HR director as well. So we try to consolidate those services under one roof, that being school and town, to create some continuity, to create some uniformity in the way we handle our employee benefits and HR functions. So, in summary, we're at 2.5. The unobligated balance, revenues over expenses, roughly $170. We're using the governor's numbers, which we're a little concerned about. We're seeing declining revenues on a month-to-month basis at the state level. 7 consecutive months in a row of declining revenues. So I don't even know if the governor's numbers are gonna hold. We're waiting for the House numbers to be released, which will be sometime, hopefully, the end of March. That will give us a second set of numbers. There's some skepticism as to whether or not the governor's numbers are gonna hold, based upon some of the feedback we're getting from our local delegation. So we will bring that in as soon as we get some information, but we may have to revisit what we're presenting tonight in terms of some additional cuts, but it's too early to say how deep that will go.
Just for clarification, so when you talk about the governor's numbers, the state numbers, we're still only talking about that 166 number?
Yes.
So it's a small percentage of everything.
I can tell you it's not gonna get any better than that. Now, I can tell you the state is putting about $1.3 million into the sheltering of the migrants, so if there is some change, it may be in that area, and there could be a redirect of that money. But the governor has petitioned the feds to subsidize that.
Did you say she has?
Has.
Right, yeah.
She has filed emergency consideration for that. No money, as I understand it, has come to the state. If some money does come to the state, that may offer an opportunity for a redirect of that 1.3, but that's our only hope at this point in time. Otherwise, we're in for a bumpy ride for the next couple of years anyway.
And do we see any of those costs for the housing, et cetera, communities getting any costs for the secondary support of?
So we're getting a reimbursement from the Commonwealth based upon the number of migrant families we're housing here. To date, that totals about 500 some odd thousand that we're allowed to take in, offset whatever expense we have. If we've already expended money that doesn't require reimbursement of that, we're allowed to carry that over and expend it by June 30th of next year. So it may offer an offset for the year that you're looking at, but the numbers continue to move and shift as we get a little further down the line. We currently have 95 rooms reserved at one of our local hotels. Of the 95, 70 are occupied. So that leaves some capacity of 25 rooms. That may result in some additional migrant children being integrated into our school system. That may result in a higher reimbursement from the state. But I can tell you, the year that we're in, the state already made 9C cuts totaling $375 million at an estimated $750 million hole. So there are some additional cuts that may need to be addressed through 9C cuts that could impact us this year. It may impact the year you're considering, unless there's a consideration to take it out of the rainy day fund, and I don't see that happening.
Any questions?
Got some work cut out for us.
Okay, so, we'll start with the moderators. Same as last year, the FY '24 amount, $296. This year's recommendation from the town manager of $296, all for a single salary position.
Motion to recommend? Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Select Board? Okay, the total for fiscal year '24 was $11,537. No change in this year's for town manager's recommendation, $11,537.
Motion to recommend? Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Executive Office of the Town Manager. FY '24 total was $459,932. This year's town manager's recommendation, $476,495. That's an increase of $16,563. Any questions on this one?
Salary increases contractual?
Yes, they are. Yep.
Motion approved? Second.
A motion to recommend and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Here comes the big one. Finance Committee. FY '24, we were a whopping $1,015. This year's town manager's recommended $1,315. We didn't even get an increase on it. We have to do the math ourselves. That Finance Committee? The same one?
I have a different one.
Am I reading the right? reading?
Oh, no.
Oh, well, wait a
no,
minute.
I'm looking at the top line. That's
Okay.
my fault.
So we wanted to do a reclassification. Actually, if I could hand this out to the members. So the $215, as you're gonna see, that has previously been budgeted under miscellaneous supplies is really for dues, so we wanted to properly show that. Karen had identified that. So just to be more open about what that money is being expended on, we wanted to reclassify that into dues. So the net impact on the budget is zero, it's just a reclassification of $215.
Any questions on this one?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to recommend in a second. All
Motion to recommend, excuse me.
all in favor?
Aye.
Finance Department? I forget how we used to read these off. Did we just read the total on the last one? We have multiple sections, or do we?
Mr. Chairman, I would read the total by each division and then a subtotal for all, and then you can
Okay.
ask any questions that,
Okay. So this is, again, we're at the Department of Finance. The first one I'll read is the Accountants Division. FY '24, amount requested, $240,984. Department requested $258,748. Town manager's recommendation, $257,748. The Assessors Division, should we discuss each one as we go, or do you want to do a subtotal, or how do we typically do it?
I would read a subtotal for each division with a grand total, and then open it up for questions for any division.
For the Assessors Division, FY '24 was $212,309. The department had requested $247,412. Town manager has recommended $229,712. And for the Treasurer/Collectors Division, in FY '24, the amount was $787,113. The department had requested $873,108. And the town manager has made a recommendation of $853,408.
That's the total.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I was one line down on that. So for treasurer collector, FY '24, $333,820. Department requested $366,948. Town manager recommended $365,948. So the total for the Department of Finance, FY '24, $787,113. Department requested $873,108. And the town manager has recommended $853,408 for an increase of $66,295. Questions relative to this department?
Just to cover it again, I guess, I'm assuming all the salary lines are contractual or negotiated?
So I think there were a number of transfers that came before you. Was it this fall, relative to the assistance positions? We did a review of the assistance positions because we were concerned that they were going to be plucked from Auburn because they are highly desirable. So in an attempt to retain individuals that we've invested a lot of training and professional development in, we did a salary review with our HR director and assistant town manager, and we made a salary adjustment for all the assistants. So I think that's primarily the driving a factor behind a lot of this increase. Other than that, the other ones are contractual by contract. Is that fair to say, Karen?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment on the assessors?
Yes, please.
Budget, if I could? The request from the department for the update valuations was $30,000, and the town manager recommended $15,000. We're going to be putting forward a warrant article for May for the $15,000 to come out of overlay. So the assessor will release $15,000 from overlay to overlay surplus, and then it can be appropriated.
Just, I was gonna ask on that particular line, so the average has been in the, teens, 16, 17 over the years, the request from the department for 30,000.
Yeah, the costs have increased significantly from the two vendors that they use. I don't know if the assessor wants to comment or not, but that's what's been
Certainly, if
happening.
they're here,
Good evening. Seth Willard, Assessing Division. Just to basically reiterate Karen's sentiment, the vendors have increased significantly, and they're having their own staffing shortage. And then there's some other special things going on. We're in a revaluation year, but next year we're also going to get into looking at some of the neighborhoods, specifically with a lot of the 40B, a lot of the affordable projects coming on. So that'll be an extra consideration as well.
Questions, all we have to do?
Motion to approve? Or motion to recommend, excuse me.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Did we just approve the whole?
We did the
account
whole, we
division?
did all three, the entire finance departments, all three divisions
Oh,
of
I'm
it.
sorry. Your questions about?
Well, no, but I just wanted to clarify because we read three different ones and we had questions, so I was just confirming that we moved to recommend the whole three departments. Just clarification. That's all.
Yeah, that's the way I understood your motion, was we were doing all
Yes.
three for that department. Law department? Okay, the FY '24 for the law department was $145,000. Department has requested $145,000, and the town manager has also gone with $145,000. Any question?
So I know we have town council. He's outside council. He doesn't work for the town. He has his own firm, right? So this is all
Both Labor
billings.
Council and Town Council are independent of the town.
And how like often do we assess them and like decide whether or not to stick with the same council going forward?
So, those appointments are made by the Board of Selectmen, or have been in years past. It's not reviewed on an annual basis, or I can tell you that their rates of pay are significantly under like other major law firms. So we feel like we're getting a good bang for the buck. Also, they have a historical perspective on the history of what has transpired here in Auburn. That brings a lot of value to the table, where if you get someone new in, they don't have that knowledge. So there is a benefit by keeping these individuals, provided that they keep their pencil sharp, but they do provide a good quality of service for us.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion on the law department budget?
Motion to recommend?
Motion and a second, all in favor? And the last one for this evening, relative to budgets, the information technology. I'll read off the amounts, and I see we have Mr. Marino with us. So FY '24, the IT department had a budget of $340,775. The department has requested $383,221. And the town manager has also adopted that recommendation, $383,221, which is an increase of $42,446.41. Sir, do you want to review what you have, what's in your budget for this year?
Good evening. So, like most years, it's pretty much the same maintenance and updates to existing software. There's been a lot of price increases this year, and we do have a couple new items. We have a new permitting software for DDIS, and that's a big chunk of the budget right there. And one of our other items, our VMware support, the company was bought recently by another company who has been jacking up the prices, and we currently don't have an exact price, so this is best estimate on the information I had at the time. However, we are working with our vendors to try to get some more information so we can have accurate pricing, and we are looking at alternatives as well, just in case.
Hey, it's a 583% increase?
Possibly. It is based off the information that I received right before I had to pass in the budget.
What do they do?
What's that?
What is that service?
Oh, that's the infrastructure for all of our servers, so everything runs off of that platform.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be enough?
We'll see. I have some alternatives, and we may be able to work around a few things, but, you know, like I said, pricing hasn't been officially announced yet. It's based off of word of mouth from what I've heard from other companies that have got there. But these are mostly bigger companies, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think, any additional questions?
Well, I think the only question I would have relative to the whole process is, and it's something that we experience with Baypath and some other industries, are we do our budget and we finalize, we have to vote, it becomes a legal document. And I'm just a little miffed at this point that we're sitting here ready to do budgets, and these companies, regardless of their size, know that these are taxpayer dollars, and they can't give us a solid number to work with and commit to it. So that's my only observation.
Yeah, I agree.
This doesn't sit well with me.
Well, and we've had this discussion before, I think, with the police department relative to, you know, when we enter these contracts, and that's somebody else's at this table's world, you know, enter into these sort of contracts, I feel like we need to do a better job of ensuring that our interests are protected for things such as the company sells, you know, just better language, I think, in some of the contracts. And I know we're limited, so they probably have boilerplate language, that's you sign off with them, that's the one, but it's just these unanticipated costs when they decide, well, you know, the cost of cloud storage has gone up, and therefore we'll just send you the next month's bill, and here you go. Like, I feel like any of our energy rates or any of the things we do, those are sort of locked in for a period of time, and those companies have to think ahead, whether it's trash or energy, that they have to sort of plan ahead, and I feel like we're not getting that same level of commitment or planning with some of these technology folk. That's just sort of speaking my mind. I don't think there's really a change as we go here, but.
I can say we've been using this program for 15 years or so, and the price has been fairly steady. And now with this new company taking over, you know, they've said, oh, the price it's been underpriced for so long that now we have to raise prices. It used to be you purchased a perpetual license and you just paid for support.
Right.
Now it's a subscription fee. Your license isn't good unless you pay for it now, and every year you have to renew it. And support price has gone up as well. So it's a very big change, and we're not the only ones facing this. A lot of companies use this. This is the #1 virtualization company in the world, and most companies use them. So everybody's facing the same problems that we are with this.
Yeah, and I think it's more for town administration as we enter these contracts and town council. I just heard the assessor's office say, you know, the company's struggling to get employees and, you know, all these other factors, which we can sympathize with, but, you know, taxpayers shouldn't take the brunt of their business model not going the way that they want it to go. Just a note, I'm always amazed that you accomplish as much as you do. Every year I say it to you, but as you accomplish as much as you do for the town's IT with really a rather small budget. But you mentioned that a big chunk of this was the software for DDIS. Are you covering everybody else's softwares and software contracts for all the other departments with the exception of, I think, police?
Mostly, yes.
But you work with, even though the police has to be a separate and distinct servers and secure servers, you still help these guys out when it comes to the technical know-how?
For IT, the police generally have their own in-house IT, but we do work with them every now and then.
We parachute Mike in when necessary. He's been a major asset to the police department in time of need. If I could, Mr. Chairman, I would really like to take this opportunity to applaud Michael, because what he does is truly amazing. He's very comprehensive in his level of detail that he provides. You can tell if you look at, through the years, he very rarely comes before the Finance Committee and asks for any transfers. He spends down because it's a fixed cost, not because there is no discretionary money in his budget. I think he'll tell you that. Mike hits the nail on the head. Every year, he comes within dollars of the amount that he is requesting. And very rarely is he knocking my door saying, you know, I have a problem. Mike is very thorough, and he provides, at least to me, the information needed in order to make a true recommendation. So above and beyond that, he seeks out state dollars, and he's secured those in the past for training and for other supplies. So Michael does scratch beyond the surface and looks for opportunities to enhance what he presently has. So, Michael, I want to thank you. He does a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think in my time on this committee, you've come back for so much as, you know, a
Right.
broken monitor or keyboard. I mean, it's kind of truly amazing. We see you once a year, unless we can't log into the system, and then you come scrambling up the stairs for us, but other than that.
I have two things that are also probably more for Ed and Karen than for you, but what is the process for us to sign multi-year contracts for software? I know that we obviously have to budget on an annual basis, but in my experience, you can often get better rates if you're willing to sign multi-year contracts. I'm assuming part of the reason we're getting jobbed here is that we're signing one-year contracts because we don't know what the budget's going to be the following year. So do we have a process in place to allow us to sign multi-year contracts? And if we have that process, like, are we taking advantage of it?
So we're limited to the extent that under state law, we can only go for a maximum of a 3-year contract. And we try to take advantage of that as best we can, given the pricing. So in most cases, when you have a multi-year contract, the pricing is going to be diluted somewhat because you're making a commitment for the 3 years. Now, so we look at that in all aspects of general government, quite honestly. But there are certain limitations in terms of making a commitment above and beyond what town meeting has allowed. Anything beyond 3 years requires a town meeting approval, and in some cases, we sought that for multi-year lease agreements and things of that nature, but yeah, we're limited as to how far out we can go.
My other question is, are we doing any level of legal review of software agreements, like at all?
So we rely on town council sometimes if there is some ambiguity or some concerns after we review those contracts. Not only as it applies to maintenance and service contracts, but other contracts as well. So yeah, it does, in most cases, it does get a legal review.
The only reason I bring it up, like, software contracts are a lot of what I do, and there are contractual provisions that you can push for that some vendors are more willing to take than others, but like, that can help mitigate cost and cap, you know, annual increases and other things like that, and having an outside position for the town where we have to pay him every time we ask him to look at something, I'm assuming makes us hesitant to give him every single contract to look at, but I do think that there's some value, especially in the software realm, just given, like, if we had a data breach or something else, like, a lot of these contracts do absolutely nothing to protect the town, and if we are signing their standard terms, which I'm guessing in 99, if not 100% of cases, we're signing the terms that they put in front of us, I think that we are taking on significant risk as a town, and I think there is some value to be placed on spending money to understand and hopefully mitigate that risk, and I'm sure everyone thinks that their job is the one that will save everybody money, but I do think that there's some value, and like, especially in this particular realm, like, these contracts are written very much to the detriment of the customer, and that's all I'll say, I guess, but.
I think that's some good advice. We recognize that as well. I can tell you that above and beyond that, and, you know, it gets a little gray as to our coverage in terms of our overall insurance policy on those breaches that may occur. We do have.
Well, and in addition, my understanding is a lot of insurance companies are now putting the onus on you that if your contract didn't have the protections that they think should have been in place, all of a sudden it's your fault that this breach and they're pushing claims, even further down the rung because they don't want to pay out.
Right,
so.
right. It's the old finger pointing. It's their problem, not our problem, so. No, we understand that, so we're cognizant of that, and we're doing what we can to, in most cases, help try to prevent that from happening.
And to coattail on that, to my point earlier, I think he used the word subscription or short and not having, are we having a problem now securing even an annualized contract? Or you're telling me that some of what's in your budget is really more subscription and by the month, that you weren't able to succeed at getting an annual contract?
Some of the services are subscription-based, but they're annual subscriptions.
Okay. So it's not month by month, but an actual annualized?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I just want to note on the form here that some of the MIS director salary is broken up into two different accounts, is that correct?
Yes, 90% of it is tax levy, 10% of it is in support of local access channel.
Thank you.
The only other thing I was going to point out is, I think this is the first department tonight that has a CIP budget.
Yes.
So, not that it, like, I don't think any of this is particularly controversial, but we have $35,000 for server and infrastructure upgrades, $15,000 to replace laptops, and $10,000 for book and, is that under you? Book and map repairs, is that part of your budget too?
No. Hold on.
Oh, no, sorry, that's under the clerk. I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time reading this. I don't know, I just wanted to point it out in case anyone has questions on that stuff. 'Cause we typically
And as
vote
you
on
start
CIP.
reviewing the CIP, I just want to let you know, anything that is identified in block form is a current existing lease agreement. And the acronym to the right, or the initials to the right, designate how those items are to be funded once voted. So BP is bond proceeds, TL is through tax levy, CIP is through our CIP trust, the yield we get on our investment. STBL is stabilization, AMB is ambulance, and all that can be found on the summary page at the end. The level of revenue source to fund our capital needs.
I guess I'll ask one question on the CIP. The $35,000 for server and infrastructure upgrades, are we replacing servers? Like, what level of upgrade is this, like, percentage-wise for the town?
This is actually going to be used to upgrade our networking infrastructure. We're replacing some switches that are fairly old, so we're getting some new modern switches.
How old are our servers?
Servers? The servers were replaced last year, the physical servers. This server,
Oh, yeah, that's not,
this server indicator is for server software as well, so, but the physical servers were replaced last year, so they're brand new.
Any other questions?
motion to recommend? Second.
A motion to second for the information technology budget? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, that's it for 25 budgets for tonight. The next one is to review some transfers that were approved by the town accountant CFO that were up to $250 as authorized by this committee.
Do we approve or just review?
Do we have to give an additional approval or just to review what you, just to note that you had,
Seems like twice the work.
It
if
would- it
we-
would
Yeah.
just be, it would just be for review. I just wanted to
Review.
give it to you for information, that those were the only two transfers that I've approved so far.
so we can just treat them, I think, like we do with our minutes. If there's no other questions or concerns relative to it, we'll just note that we received those from the CFO and then we can move on that. We had some minutes, same thing. If there's no questions relative to those, we'll deem those to be as accepted, as given to us. Before we adjourn, upcoming meetings, do we have any additional meetings scheduled? Sharon?
So in terms of grouping, and we can put out some feelers, all depending on what the committee would like to do. We typically like to bring public safety in on the same night, police, fire, emergency management, dispatch, because they have some commonality, so I think it's important to share that information. DPW, all the divisions within DPW would be one night. School would be one night, including Bay Path, Norfolk Aggie, anything school-related. And then we can sandwich in a lot of the department. DDIS should come in on its own night, and maybe they can share their night with someone else. But we can coordinate that behind the scenes. I just don't know if there's any desire of the committee members to address any particular department sooner than later, or?
My only thought was that we asked to have a little bit more, an overview of the CIP. I wonder if we should do that first, have a review of the CIP, discussion about the CIP, and then when those individual department heads come before, we can ask any specific questions, as opposed to having them with us and then have questions down the road.
So I know historically you ask questions of the department the same night that they're discussing their operating budget in terms of the CIP. If you want an overall presentation of the CIP, question is, if you have questions that evening of the presentation, I won't have the department heads here to answer any questions that you may have relative to their request, so.
I think the intent, or to go along the same line as him, if we just as a group review the whole CIP, then we become familiar with it before, so we're starting off fresh, and I commend my peer here for being on the ball. I didn't catch, because I went back to look, and I it was towards the end, and I didn't catch the CIP was attached. And I think the way I operate personally is that if I look at the whole CIP budget and I get it, whether I look at it ahead of time and I get my questions, or I wait and you go over it, I think taking it as its own budget, regardless of the funding sources, and understanding, it gives me some cohesiveness on whether or not something can cross over or should be shared. I just get a more solid understanding of it. And then when we go into the departments, if we put the CIP ahead of time, what we've done is we've given ourselves an idea of, okay, when the department's here, we'll be ready for those questions. I just think that it's more piecemeal if we just keep incorporating it in the departments. There's no 60-foot view of it.
So in terms of a presentation, because when you look at the 5-year CIP, the new requests are 5 years out. So do you want more of a focus on that? Because what is already built into the FY25 in most cases hasn't changed unless there was a reprioritization. So you may already be familiar with that and not familiar with the year
I think a mutual place to start would to be put it on the budget as an item that we're going to review. And then we have to come prepared with our questions. And if we have 5 minutes worth of questions, we just say, it's been reviewed, and then we go back to because I don't believe we approve it until the very end. But I think that if we went over it all at once and then looked at it, we got the books last night. So it's like I really wasn't going to be in a position to look at it before tonight, and we already had one item. So I think what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to manage the process and the knowledge, and to do that, I think you got to separate it out and put it on an agenda item like you did. These 6, at least giving us, as a group, 5, 10, or 15 minutes to,
We'd be happy to do that.
That's what I meant.
All I'm suggesting is if there is some questions by the committee members relative to what you have been given, I need my department heads here to answer any questions you may have.
Right, and I think
So we can do that. I'm not opposed to that, we can do that, but it's just, I thought there was an attempt to limit their participation by rolling into the same night.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask them to come for that night. I would just ask for an overview as to the picture. We understand that the 25 stuff is already, a lot of these things are already in a 5-year cycle for purchases. I think it's to get a better understanding, because I've always felt in my time that we go through these, we discuss it, but the CIP is a big number at the end, that we don't really get a full, like you said, a full overview of it. So even if we could just, maybe in the next one, we talk about CIP, I would take a highlighter and put so we don't miss stuff like Michael was quick to catch tonight. There was one in there that we should have discussed. And then we could bring up those questions individually, sort of approve those individual lines as we go. And then at the end, could be the final one to actually recommend the entire CIP. Is that sort of,
Yeah, exactly. I just want to, I just want to separate it out a little bit more so that it's not micro discussed amongst all the departments. It's its own budget. It carries its own validity, and so I want to just take a look at it and focus
So,
on it.
and we'd be happy to do that if you want to put that on the next agenda up front, so you have an explanation of what the contents are, if there are any changes made, what was programmed into 2030, and then how that relates to actually the entire five-year plan, so.
I think that's, I mean, yeah, do you, I know it's a little different than we've done
Don't
in the
really
past.
need much attention put on the 24 and behind, because that's established. It's more, what are the concerns and the benchmarks for what we're trying to achieve going forward?
Especially you said, we may be looking at a couple lean years going forward, and to kind of get that further out view of things may be better. I think it'd be beneficial for me to see which direction we're heading when it comes to.
And it's important to know the correlation of that and how that may relate to, like, fleet maintenance, where those costs are out of control.
Right.
Is the purchase of these newer equipment. And we made an attempt to modernize our fleet over the years. Is that gonna set us back even more? Is that gonna put us ahead of where we are today when we look at the entire plan? So that's something to keep in mind, how it relates to the operational side of the budget as well.
I think it would help. It would help me to talk about, okay, we're close to this cycle. We're looking at these purchases over the next 2 years, and maybe those numbers we see in high, we may see some, it would be helpful to me.
I think one of the wrinkles that really kind of threw a curveball at us is the delay in the delivery of the equipment.
Or the continued delay in
And,
the
or it
delivery.
continues, so,
It's
you
still
know, and the
continued.
ambulances aren't delivered for, 2.5 years now. Six-wheel dumps aren't delivered for 2 to 3 years now, so that's kind of setting us back a little bit. But not only that, but the cost of these vehicles are going up astronomically.
And just that alone would be helpful for me to understand, what does that do financially when a vehicle is ordered in this year, but it's not delivered until 2 years out? Like, where does that, what is the accounting behind that? Things of that nature, so. Okay. So we can, in Sharon we trust, you've put these together for a lot of years and know how to match up the right people, and certainly, the department heads were thankful they're able to come in and meet with us and explain away all these things, so, their schedules as well, so certainly, other than things like we've said, it's good to have the schools together. We always like to be able to get the schools and Bay Path ideally on the same date. Public safety is, a good one to group together because of the similarities, although they're bigger budgets, but, and then, time management, obviously, some of the, you get a bunch
I
of
can
small
tell
ones.
you Sharon's methodology in choosing the departments, they go into her head and she picks them out, and you're coming on this night.
There's an algorithm behind the scenes. Well, yeah, that's the other part. Sharon says you're gonna be there, they're there. Well, good.
Sharon, were we thinking of bringing in any departments next week to keep going, or?
Well, you want to have a discussion on the capital.
CIP and then some smaller ones that don't have
Do you want
CIPs, I
to
think would be,
do,
All
like
right.
HR, clerk?
Okay, so
town
those
hall?
kinds of things,
yes,
okay.
that would be great.
Are there any conflicts looking out over the next 6 weeks with any members there?
Yes.
So, and, is there a desire for you, Michael, to be present for any particular department? I mean, you may not be here, or?
I
Or doesn't,
need my right-hand guy.
The only night I definitely can't come is the 13th. So, I just,
okay.
yeah, can't make it. The 20th, I know Steve and I are both on another thing in town that is supposed to happen on the 20th. It was supposed to be the 21st and it got moved. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but.
And do we have to stick to, is that week, is it Wednesdays?
Wednesdays, I
I
mean,
know the schools were asked to come on the 20th because of their meeting schedule.
Is that a Wednesday?
They meet on what, Tuesdays for their?
They meet on Tuesday. I mean, they meet on Wednesdays, but that's an off Wednesday that their school committee isn't meeting.
This is the priority. I'll be here on the 20th if it's,
Oh, okay.
like I
That's
can
not
do it.
the
I'm
issue.
just, I know that Steve and I both have something that'll
Yeah,
be a pain, so.
and without Trevor appearing lately, we lost a little bit of a buffer, so.
You want to consider a marathon Saturday?
Well, we talked about that last year, and it never came to
Well,
fruition.
just In the event there are a number of conflicts, that's something you can consider. We can always program that in later down the line.
The 13th is the only one I know
Okay,
I won't be able
wrote
to
that
make,
down.
so.
And when do we have to be completed by?
Well,
First weekend,
April 3rd, and then maybe the 10th would be the review of the warrant.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we could see how we do, and then if we have to do a Saturday to,
I think moving the CIP and some of these smaller ones up next week gets them out of the way, gives us a good, solid head start on it, and then it's just a matter of managing the remainder of the departments and getting them to come in.
Does it have to be on a Wednesday?
Well, we have selectmen meetings and other people use the room, so it's a matter of, it's a matter of,
Sharon just asked, I mean, do you want to do 6 o'clock, be a little bit earlier, and then we can go just a little bit longer? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, tonight we went relatively quickly, it's only, I know we started early, but we were out of executive session by 6:30, we were probably, so we're really only 6:15, so we're an hour in.
It's
I mean, I could
5:32.
start at 5:30 if that makes it easy. I don't know what people's schedules are. I don't know
I don't know
people
what
are
Steve and
available.
George, what their schedule is.
I can do 5:30.
We can reach out to see if the other members are
Yeah, I'll do
available at
that
5:30, and then if they are, we can schedule at 5:30.
Get a lot done on any given night. Okay.
Good.
Sounds good. Anything else to,
Motion to adjourn.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.